Square, I'm begging you. Final Fantasy XIII is really special to me. It's technically the Final Fantasy that got me into Final Fantasy as a whole, even though 7 was the first game that I played. I'd like to tell this story in greater detail on my main channel, but to summarize, essentially I had a friend in elementary school who showed me the Final Fantasy XIII E3 trailer, the one that's essentially vaporware. And I mean, first of all, thank you, brother. But that trailer absolutely blew me away, and down the line, because I thought that looked so cool and I really wanted to play it, he ended up showing me Final Fantasy as a whole and gave me a bunch of ROMs from our boy Gangplank, and I ended up playing Final Fantasy VII that way. But I think, especially when 13 came out and I finally got to play it, I have such an emotional attachment to that game, especially seeing the public reaction to that game at the time was like crazy to me. I couldn't believe that so many people hated it. It was so weird because by that point I had played a lot of the older Final Fantasies. I had played 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Yeah, I played all of them. I pretty much played all of them except for 5 and 11 by the time I had played 13, and I still thought 13 was fantastic. I loved it. That's not to say that Final Fantasy 13 does not have issues. It has a lot of issues. I replayed it recently and I still really loved it. The quickest way you could explain 13 to somebody is like, it's one of the greatest 6 out of 10 games you could ever play. It's fucking awesome. That being said, I do think that nowadays, I feel like people would be more receptive, is that the word? Receptive to what Final Fantasy 13 is through either re-examination or just playing it for the first time. See, back then, there was a lot of hatred towards JRPGs in general. I believe Guillaume Broche, the director and I think CEO of Sandfall, guys who did Clair Obscur, talked about this recently, about how there was a lot of prejudice against Japanese RPGs. I lived through that because I love Japanese RPGs. I can tell you, yes, people fucking hated it. 13, like I said, I'd like to talk about this more in another video on my main channel, but I got legit bullied over enjoying 13, listening to 13's music. But even excluding my personal life, you look online and there was always like hallway simulator. You can put your controller down and the game plays itself, or there was this one shitty IGN video that pissed me off when I was a kid. I don't remember the name of it. If I can find it, I'll play it right now. Okay, so I couldn't find it, but I did find a clip of Phil Fish, who was the creator of Fez, talking to somebody that actually worked on Final Fantasy XIII.
I'm a freelance game programmer, and in this movie, you were inspired from Super Mario and Metroid and Rockman. I am so proud of it, and as a Japanese. And my question is, could you tell me what kind of about recently Japanese? What do you think about the recently Japanese game?
Is it what is about Japanese games that inspired us?
Recent.
Oh, most recent Japanese
I'm sorry.
games.
They suck. I'm sorry. Like, you guys need to get with the times and make better interfaces and like update your technology. We're totally kicking your ass. Back then, you guys were the king of the world, but your time has passed. Joyless husk.
Yeah, let's just leave it a joyless husk.
Japanese games are a joyless husk.
And there's also this.
If a game features good-looking guys and incredibly stupid dialogue, you know it came from Japan.
How stupid is that? Like, bro, you can't be serious. That stuff always fucking annoyed me. It was really frustrating as a JRPG fan to just constantly hear all this negativity and how that kind of game is just so outdated and you're just standing there taking turns. I can't stand it. It was so fucking annoying at that time. And you know, this is, I've always said this, even though I really like action RPGs, turn-based RPGs are my bread and butter. That's what I love the most. That's kind of what really got me interested into playing role-playing games in general and sticking to them, was because I grew up really, I've noticed this, by the way, that a lot of people just grew up fucking beasts at video games. The only thing I was ever really good at it was like first-person shooters, and I was shit at everything else. I feel like as I got older, I started to get much better at games, but Definitely when I was younger, I had to play, I gravitated to turn-based way more because I was just too stupid to play anything else, if I'm being honest. None of that matters though, because Gamescom is next week, and Gamescom is not a massive event. It's not one that I never really stream my reactions to it because they don't usually have anything that exciting. This will be the first one that I do decide to react to on stream. I still don't have high hopes for it. I know I've been seeing a lot of people be like, well, you know, for the FF7 Ever Crisis anniversary, Motomu Toriyama, who's the co-director of Rebirth, was like, oh, we might have part 3 news before the second anniversary Ever Crisis. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think announcing part 3 is a mistake at Gamescom because that does not have the most eyes on it. I think if you want to, you know, go out there and blow up the fucking world, you do that at the Game Awards. That is the event with the most eyes on it. That's where you're gonna get the most attention. So I don't think part 3 is going to have any kind of announcement coming up here at Gamescom. But the likely one is not Final Fantasy IX Remake. That's also too big. At the minimum, we'll probably see like a trailer for Final Fantasy Tactics because that's looking awesome and that's coming out next month. But if they wanted to do a little something extra, I actually initially wanted to make a much larger video about this last year because last year was the, I want to say the 10th anniversary of Final Fantasy XIII. That's why I want to do a video on it. But that time has come and passed. Instead, there was a recent tweet that I would like to pull up. Let me see if I can find it. They tweeted one of Lightning's quotes from one. Yeah, this. It's not a question of can or can't. There are some things in life you just do, which is an awesome quote, by the way. It's actually a really good one. She also has this really, really fantastic quote at the end of the game. Fuck, what was it? Hold on. Yeah, dude, we live to make the impossible possible. That is our focus. Goosebumps, brother. I don't care how fucking corny that is. That fucking rules. It just feels like a great time to go ahead and put it out there. There was also a tweet from a long time ago that I feel like I need to pull up now because I can't remember it. FF13 remake. There was this tweet that they put out. This was August 13th, 2024. What is your hottest take or unpopular opinion on a Final Fantasy game? And Alex Mukala, shout out Alex Mukala, the fucking GOAT. He said, before any other FF title gets a remake, Final Fantasy XIII needs a remaster. And Square Enix actually responded to him saying, any reason for a remaster instead of a remake? Which is crazy, by the way. That's a crazy sentence to just throw out online, especially from the company account. That's a really crazy sentence. If you ask me, obviously, I think games like 13 and even 15 had such crazy either development cycles or issues with their games, or both, that I actually think they could benefit a lot from a remake, but they definitely don't deserve a remake as much as a lot of those older titles. I mean, I'm still praying for an FF8 remake. Things like that make me feel like they're at least aware of it. However, to be fair, we do know that the team that did 13, I'm pretty sure, was Creative Studio 1, and they're obviously very busy with the 7 remake series, understandably so. That being said, I would hope that Square has realized in time that we don't necessarily need to have Creative Studio 1 handle, like, you know, the OGs that worked on those projects. I don't think they necessarily need to handle something like a remaster. I think you can just get a different team to do that, because there are a lot of things that FF13 could benefit from a remaster. You look at what Creative Studio 3 has done with Final Fantasy Tactics by adding in stuff like active time lore and updating the UI, putting voice acting in, rewriting the script so that it can fit voice acting, stuff like that. I don't even think they need to go that hard with 13 because the game's already really beautiful. The UI is fucking killer, by the way. The UI looks so badass. There are things that I think would help a lot. Things like active time lore, because every time I try and talk about FF13 to people, one of the things I constantly hear is, well, what is a Seath? What is a L'Cie? What is a Fal'Cie? What is Cocoon? What is all this bullshit that they're slinging slop out of their mouths, and I don't know what the fuck any of it means. Well, I think active time lore would be a great thing to do, because it is a hard ask to tell your player, well, why don't you go look at the fucking whatever the hell it's called, the in-game encyclopedia. A lot of players are just not going to do that. Most players are not fucking weirdos like me, you know? I do think that the game does a relatively solid job, to be honest, of kind of hinting at what each term means through like events that happen in the game, but That's clearly not enough. So I think something like an ATL from FF16 would benefit 13 a ton. There's also a lot of other things. I just replayed Final Fantasy 13 after a decade practically just last year. I wrote some of this down so I could bring it up just so I don't forget, but things like rebalancing the game just as a whole. You know, I had a great talk with someone in my chat streaming. It was Nick, and he talked about how much he hates 13 and hates its combat and a lot of like how it was balanced and all this kind of stuff. And I don't even necessarily disagree with a lot of the things that he was saying. This is why I love having discussions with people, especially if they don't agree with what I have to say, because as long as, you know, you're a normal person, you can actually come up with some really great discussions. I felt a lot of his problems playing through it myself last year. I didn't remember a lot of the balancing being so poor early on, especially because, you know, the complaints that people have, like, oh, the game is an auto battler and that kind of thing. I wholeheartedly believe that most people that run into that issue, they probably just played like the first 5 or 10 hours and were like, wow, this game is fucking easy as hell. I can just auto battle and, you know, call it a fucking day, which is true. You can do that in the early, for most of the early game. But there is a boss that you'll run into called Bartandalus, and that boss is like a giant wall. This boss basically says, all right, it's time to learn the combat. and that as a child was not fun for me. I'll be straight up, because when I was a kid, I was like, audio battle, and then when I realized, I was like, oh shit, I can't do that. It was not fun to run into that wall. Now, obviously, because the game forced me to learn, then I was like, okay, this is really cool, actually. The paradigm system is really fun. And then I started to really get into, I don't remember what they're called, but the jobs, because they're jobs like saboteur, commando, stuff like that. That was really fun to figure out what they actually do and what I can benefit from to either, you know, keep stagger going longer or to keep enemies in the air longer, that kind of thing. That was really fun to figure out, but I would have never gone down that route if I didn't hit that wall. But that wall is something most people are never going to reach because they just get so bored of auto battling the combat for so many hours. So I think a rebalance so that players can engage with the combat sooner would benefit a lot, and that in itself I think would do a ton. But there are also other things that I've written down here that I think could benefit. Things like the speed the ATB recharges. I feel like haste is practically mandatory in this game. I mean, let's be honest, you guys play Final Fantasy as well. You're probably putting haste on all of your fucking characters in like every Final Fantasy ever made. But it feels doubly so important in 13 because ATB takes fucking forever to load in this game, and with how the tempo of 13 feels like it should be a lot faster. So haste feels like normal speed to me. I think you should just make that speed of like when you have haste on a character the normal speed, and then haste is even quicker. I think that would feel really nice, and you could probably do some really cool things with it. That being said, this would make my other suggestion even more hectic, but I think that kind of adds to the charm, the fun of it, which is let's make it so that you can control your whole party manually, not just one character. I don't remember the exact interview. Someone in the comments could probably find it, but I remember one of them talking about how the reason they did this was because of how hectic it would be. It'd be a lot to control in the player, and that's true, especially when you're doing a lot of these super bosses in 13, and you're using, you know, haste, and you're trying to get a lot of your buffs and your debuffs set out and doing combos and all that kind of thing. It gets pretty hectic. You do have to be pretty quick with it, and managing 3 characters doing that does sound very difficult. That being said, I think that'd be a fun challenge to do, and I think it would change a lot of people's minds as well on how engaging the combat in 13 can actually be. 13 is actually my second favorite command and or turn-based battle system in all of Final Fantasy, only behind FF10. I think FF10 is like perfect, and 13's is like right behind there. I love 13's combat system. Oh my god, I can't even believe I forgot about this, but like one of the biggest ones when it comes to rebalancing is it takes a while before you're able to, like, what is it called? Like spec into other jobs, pretty much. You're stuck down one tree for a long ass time, like fucking 30 hours or something. And then when you reach Grand Pulse, then you're allowed to start building into other, dude, forget it. Just put in from the start of the fucking game. Let us do that. I don't think that is overwhelming at all for a player. I think it's just more interesting to be able to spec into multiple jobs early on. Just throw that in right at the start. Another thing is, you know, me myself, I've only played 13 and 13-2. I've never played Lightning Returns. I really want to play it. I do own it on Steam, and I probably will play it regardless of if a trilogy gets announced or not. But think about the value that a remastered trilogy would have, man. Like 3 games in one is already a really, really nice sounding deal. But like, you put that shit at like, honestly, like $60 would be fair to me, but like you sneak that bitch in at like a 40 or a 50, they would never do this, but like at a 40 or 50 for 3 fucking full-on RPGs, that sounds pretty fucking sweet to me. I just think more people need to give 13 a try. It is nowhere near as bad as people say it is. I get really sad whenever I have a client that I edit for, who they were talking about how, oh man, Lightning is one of the coolest designs ever. Too bad I'm never gonna play that game because the reception to it is so fucking bad. And I think that's so sad. I think that's so sad because FF13 has an awesome cast. I know there's gonna be people out there who are like, oh, but Snow, oh, but Hope. Fuck you, buddy. Snow is awesome. Hope is awesome. Yes, the 13 does not have my favorite cast in all Final Fantasy. There's obviously way better casts in all Final Fantasy, but 13 has a great cast. Give them a try. Trust me, they're nowhere near as bad as people says. Maybe Vanille moans too much is like the one thing I could say. You know, she definitely moans a little too much. There's this one interview I showed on stream a while ago where an interviewer asking, oh, well, what was the toughest challenge of playing Vanille? And the voice actor was like, well, they wanted me to do these sounds. And they're like, oh, could you demonstrate? And she's just like, bro, you can't be serious. Yeah, and the story is really good too. Yes, it's linear, but like generally JRPG stories are linear anyway. The real linearity issue is the hallway simulator thing, which I won't ever disagree with somebody on. Yes, 13 is definitely very much like a hallway simulator. It takes a while until the game opens up. There are no towns in the game, and there are no mini games in the game. I think there's like one like small like minigame-esque thing that happens in the Gold Saucer, or it's not called the Gold, Nautilus with Saz and Vanille, but it's like really minor. And yes, the game does need more variety to feel like a Final Fantasy. It does need more mini games to feel like a Final Fantasy. It needs towns to feel like a Final Fantasy. But I don't think all of that should discredit you from playing it. Like I said, it's one of the best 6 out of 10 games I've ever fucking played. The story's great. It may not be told in a great way, but it is great. I think there are a lot of things you can take from it to yourself, to your soul, and carry forward with you. Final Fantasy XIII has always been an unforgettable experience for me. It's a game I love to death, and it has top 5, maybe even top 3 best soundtrack in all Final Fantasy. Bro, Blinded by Light, one of the best fucking battle songs ever fucking made. All right, just throw on our boy Masashi Hamauzu. Listen to anything that motherfucker makes, bro. Banger. He's still doing great work with Remake and Rebirth. I don't know. I love Final Fantasy XIII. It makes me so happy. I want it so bad. Square Enix, come on, do us a solid here, man.